Welcome back, Giants fans, to another edition of the Chuck Knoxx Show on this miserable Monday, the day after the Giants get their ass whipped at home, 30-7 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as Baker Mayfield and company rolls on into MetLife, and the Giants drop their 6th straight loss, haven't won a game at home. And I touched on this earlier in a post that I made, an article that I wrote, but they have not had a lead in the game now since the game in Seattle, which was, what, week 4, week 5, whatever that was, the last win. Haven't even had a lead in a game in over 6 weeks now. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world of the New York Football Giants. It's been a while since I was able to come on here and give my thoughts, and a lot has happened really since the last time that you've heard from me. And look, before we get into where we're going, all the nonsense that happened yesterday, and before we go any further, we have to address, I've given my takes in written form, but I wanted everybody to know I made an entire podcast last week during the debacle on the Daniel Jones fallout. I am seen as a guy in the online Giants online social circles as a guy who has been one of the loudest and staunchest supporters of Daniel Jones. Because a lot of Giants fans out there did not understand where my support from Daniel Jones was coming from. I talked about this in a recent edition of the Chuck Knoxx Show, but all that, again, was coming from the place of the logo, right? Protecting the logo. If Jones succeeds, the Giants succeed, et cetera, et cetera. And now, here we are. It is days away from Thanksgiving, and Daniel Jones, Mr. Franchise Quarterback, and the most divisive figure in Giants history, is not even on the roster. We are just 3 days out from playing the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and Daniel Jones, hard to believe, is not even a member of the New York Giants as he asked for his release last week after being benched, and rightfully so, rightfully being benched. A lot of people out there may not like the fact that how it was handled. And look, we've made enough excuses. I've made enough excuses for Daniel Jones. Has Jones earned the right to no longer have the starting job in New York? Yeah, he has. He earned it probably a lot longer than last week. But we all know why we're here, how we got here. And so now going forward, that era is over with. I just have to say this, to a lot of these younger fans out there that they don't have the miles that a lot of us have. In my lifetime, in my Giants fandom alone, I have come into this organization with Phil Simms as my quarterback, right? Jeff Hostetler as my quarterback. Dave Brown, Danny Cannell, Jesse Palmer, Kerry Collins. The list goes on. These guys were my quarterbacks. These guys were guys that I had to back. Everybody but Mike Glennon. I couldn't get over the neck. The guy was terrible. But no, seriously, those are my Giants quarterbacks. This notion that Jones became bigger than the logo or bigger than anybody else on the roster, I couldn't help for these last few years, but give it back to these guys and kind of troll them a little bit because it was so absurd. Like, how do you listen to an ounce of what I have to say or have any inclination of who I am as a fan if you have even just the smallest hint and sit there and think that Daniel Jones was my make or break, be-all, end-all with the New York Football Giants? You're out of your fucking minds. I've said it. I'll say it again. Look at my videos. When I go live, I don't do that in a green screen. When you see me watching games, you see a small portion of an entire real Giants man cave. From top to bottom. A whole life's work. No green screen. I'm the dickhead that's going to sit here over these next 6 weeks through every single play. And I have been doing it since I was a little kid. So yeah, 40-some years into my fandom now, This is a season that I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I've never seen where the Giants are right now. But I don't want to get into this whole thing about justifying why myself or many others like me supported Daniel Jones. I don't regret a damn thing of that. Daniel Jones was, he was put in a situation that was impossible. You had to back up the greatest Giants quarterback of all time. You're the heir apparent to the greatest Giants quarterback of all time. You went through 3 head coaches, 2 GMs, and a countless, offensive coordinators. Took what was rated the worst skill set player group in the entire National Football League and took them into the playoffs on a road win in Minnesota. That counts. That actually earned you a contract. But the rest is history, and there's no excuses. I mean, look, Jones was surrounded by some bad players through the majority of his time. But this year, what was the excuses? That was a pretty good offensive line for Jones. Probably the best he's had on paper. Yeah, you don't have Saquon Barkley, but you had weapons. You had Malik Neighbors. You got easily the best receiving core you've had. I think he seems like a great guy. By all accounts, he's a great teammate. The qualities about Jones that I've written about are things that I will always stand up for. Tough as nails, tough as shit. And, coming back from injuries the way he did, it's all a great story. It's all a feel-good story. But unfortunately, this is the National Football League. And Daniel Jones, look, if we wanted a feel-good story for 6 seasons, we just put The Notebook or The Golden Girls on repeat for 6 years and let it go. But we can't. This was a terrible era for the New York Football Giants. And Daniel Jones just so happened to be the face of it. You were the poster child. And that segues right into where we are today. As of this recording right now, Monday afternoon, Jones has just cleared waivers. So any day now, he'll be, I don't know if he'll be starting, but he'll be on a different squad. He'll probably go in the playoffs. And that is the past now. But Sunday, it really came full circle because Daniel Jones was not on the field. There was nobody to blame. Jones was not the guy that was going to be the scapegoat coming out of Sunday's loss. And so we go into last week, out of our bye week. Brian Daboll makes the decision to bench Jones, not just to save himself or whatever was left of the season, but also, in his words, to create a spark. And that never even came close. Sunday was it feels like this has been a repeat. It feels like a mantra over the last few years. But again, yet another game where I'm watching myself, out-of-body experience as a fan, not able to recognize my own fandom. I'm sitting there motionless. And for people who know me, for people who watch like the live reaction or, whatever, my family, they got to come downstairs and check on me because there's no noise. Am I dead? Am I laying there dead? Inside, I obviously am dead. But no, I'm sitting there and I'm watching a lifeless, really gutless performance from the New York Football Giants. And yeah, we've had worse losses. Scoreboard's been way more lopsided. But I have never seen a team just be unable to respond the way the Giants have. The offense is so bad. And again, for a guy like Brian Daboll, who has now taken over a full year's worth of play calling, and this is what we have to show for it. I wasn't a big fan of Kafka, but I mean, the results under Kafka are night and day. Brian Daboll came here as a quarterback guru, as an offensive guru. And we have some of the worst quarterback play in the National Football League, and repeatedly since 2022, one of the worst offenses. And you can't even say this is all look because you don't have Saquon Barkley. Tracy's, been, for a rookie running back, literally nobody better in the National Football League for what he can bring to the team, what he's contributed to the team. But obviously, we're without a guy like Barkley, Look at the difference. Barkley put up more yards last night than our entire offense. But we got here for a lot of reasons, not just one guy. We're here now because of everybody. Everybody. And it rots from the top. I had an article out today. You can go to the Chuck Knoxx Substack or the Facebook/Mr. Chuck Knoxx page. And I promoted it on Twitter at Chuck Knoxx. But it pained me to write this article because really the writing is on the wall for Brian Daboll. It just is. I don't like it. I actually like Brian Daboll. I don't want to see him get fired. But if we're going to break this down and we're going to look at all the glaring reasons, like number one, like I said, your head coach came here because you're an offensive-minded guru. You're a quarterback specialist. Okay, so right off the bat, you have failed miserably. At your one expertise here, you failed miserably. So X's and O's, offensive-wise, it speaks for itself. If you had that in your resume, the one thing that you do really well shows up year after year, getting worse and worse, do you honestly expect to keep your job? Would you expect it? No matter where you work? And then we can't look at the other glaring thing. And this is the part that honestly kills me. Because I've never seen, and again, 40-some years as a Giants fan, I don't think I've ever seen the way this team is just, you can't pinpoint just one thing because there's so much going on. There's so many problems all over. I said this, but I mean, honestly, we're so sick and tired after every loss. Brian Daboll, I'm going to look at the tape. Look at the tape. Look in the fucking mirror, dude. Look in the fucking mirror. And again, today, Brian Daboll comes out in his Monday presser. He didn't see a lack of effort. He looked at the tape and didn't see a lack of effort? Mind-boggling. And I get it. He can see the wolves at the door. He knows the blood in the water. He knows the way he answers every single question going forward because he knows that seat is really hot. It's really hot. And screw all the stuff that Mara said weeks ago when the Giants were like, 1-2? About nobody's getting fired this year or next year. We have 6 more weeks of what we was witnessed. We have 6 more of them. And again, we're going to cover the things that were said yesterday by the Giants players. That's where you know. That's where the real writing is on the wall. Because teams can take losses. They can take L's all season long. Even some nasty, ugly ones. But when you have a guy, like for instance, Malik Neighbors. This is your rookie wide receiver who was brought here to change this offense, to change this culture. And unfortunately, he is seeing for himself, oh, wow, I'm part of a loser culture that permeates from the top. You have multiple leaders on this team on offense and defense yesterday, not just questioning some of their teammates, their effort, flat out, but also the messaging from the head coach. When asked, Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, when asked, is the messaging from the head coach, are players getting it? I think so. The answer, if the answer starts with I think so, the answer is fuck no, they're not. That is code speak, locker room speak for we're checked out. Malik Neighbors. Here's your star receiver, maybe, hopefully, the face of the franchise going forward. A rookie who didn't have to deal with a lot of losing in college and LSU. Not saying they were a perfect team or, national powerhouse every year, but I'm saying that this kid's not used to losing 6 games in a row. And he tells you right there, A rookie who's got enough nuts and enough sense to say the truth right here. Yeah, I don't understand what's going on. Malik said it. I don't get why I'm getting targeted for the first time. I'm just getting my targets when we're down 30-0. That's when we make the adjustments. And I get it. Tommy DeVito's limited. Drew Lock's limited. But as a play caller, that's all you can do. That trick play on the goal line, the Tracy fumble, we see this all season long. Yeah, there was a lot of shit going on yesterday that was disgusting. Okay? It was disgraceful. You're watching. Guys do not go their entire lives from peewee football to junior high to high school and to college and suddenly forget how to tackle. You don't. If you've ever played the game at a young level, that technique that you learn your form, you get that at a young age, okay? You get that as a young man. All these missed tackles, that's not something they just forgot how to do. It's an effort issue. It's a heart issue. And right now, we don't have one. I get being a bad team. I get having an inadequate roster and being in the middle of a rebuild. When that happens, you're not going to be able to hang with some people. Tampa Bay came in there like they were the damn Kansas City Chiefs and beat the fuck out of you, and you couldn't respond. You know what the players said about it? This isn't from me. Malik Neighbors, Dexter Lawrence described yourselves as soft. Soft. As a man, as an athlete, and especially as a football player, about the worst thing you can be called. Soft. Blue collar, big bad, New York Football Giants football. This is what we're down to. And we have 6 more weeks of it. I'm sitting here days out from Thanksgiving. When we got this scheduled, I was really looking forward to this game. Obviously, every time we play the Cowboys, it's a big deal to me. It will never stop being a big deal against our rivals. And to think that's where we're at now, and let's be honest, both these teams are terrible. Dallas had a nice win in Washington. Clearly, they're the better team than the Giants. Not even saying that's even remotely a thing. But we got to serve this up for America here on Thanksgiving. 2 shit teams and just a really terrible Giants team. And you have to ask yourself, national television, if the Giants come out to their heated rival, who they can never beat, who, by the way, are like 50% capacity as well, if they get their ass whipped in the fashion that they did against Tampa, do you do nothing going forward? Or is this somebody's last game? For the first time in my Giants fandom, I have no idea. I have no clue what the direction and where we're going is for the New York Football Giants. Obviously, the one thing for sure is we have to get a quarterback. And I'm ready. We have no choice. This is not the draft class that we would have liked, from last year. But if we're going to be in the top 1 to 5 picks, you got to get a quarterback there. Obviously, it's not last year. My gut instinct says give me Sanders. But, I don't know where we're going to be. And we'll probably overreach for one of these guys. But that's where we are. And so I say to myself, what's the right thing to do here? Do we blow it all up? Just, right now you got rid of Daniel Jones. That divisive era has now been wiped clean. You have a chance to start over. And you can start with a new GM and a new head coach who's going to build his roster and get his quarterback. And you just start fresh. I mean, we're pulling, and that's the shitty thing, because there are some things that I do like draft-wise, especially so far in this year's draft that Joe Schoen has done. I think if you looked at everything as a whole, I don't think either guy has really made the case to keep their job. Because the flip side of that coin is you say, let's keep everybody. Let's let Daboll get his quarterback. And we see what we got. Well, the problem is if you've lost the locker room, that's going to permeate into next season. And let's say Daboll gets to come back. The Giants aren't going to be ready in 1 year, maybe not 2 years. Does he last that long? Do you stick with this regime the entire time? How committed is John Mara? From the outside perspective, we hear that he's trying to change his ways of pulling the trigger quickly. I mean, look at the McAdoo. Look at Shermer. Look at Joe Judge. Look at the rain there. These were quick and out, in and out. So I get it. He doesn't want to be in that same boat again and again and again. But if you don't have a culture, it doesn't matter what you build around it. And this, to me, is the most important part of all this, and this is something that I don't think a lot of, especially the younger Giants fans that I've had to go to war with in the last few years, really understand. Because you can't play for somebody. You ever worked for somebody that you know is inept, that is feckless at their job? Have you ever been there? It's very frustrating. It creates a bad environment. Free agents on the outside looking in. They want to come here? You want to come to the New York Football Giants? A young kid coming out of the draft. You want to come here? You want to come on this mess and deal with this press and these fans? I'm disgusted by every aspect of this organization. I am. I'm disgusted. I don't even know if I should be mad at John Mara, because the guy, the biggest misconception about John Mara is that he somehow doesn't care like you. This guy cares as much as all of us, if not more. He's absolutely sick of it. You've seen the clips. When the Giants go do really well, he's out there pumping his fists like the rest of us. When they're not, he's flipping over fucking chairs. He had to say goodbye to Saquon Barkley, cried his eyes out. It means something to that guy like it means something to you. Whether that doesn't fit your narrative or not, who gives a shit? I am at a loss for words when it comes to the direction of the New York Football Giants, but I'm not. Has it tainted my fandom at all? Absolutely not. Like I said, I'll be wearing my shit for 6 more weeks and hanging on to every play, and that's probably why I'm more angry at myself, more angry with me than I am even this team at this point. Because I bought into it. Everybody knows my takes. Everybody knows what I believed or didn't believe. And now it's, for me, going forward, that's why I don't know what I want out of this season. Obviously, the Daniel Jones era is over. I'm ready for a new quarterback. I'm ready for a new era. Will Joe Schoen and Daboll be the one that brings us this quarterback? And that's up to Daboll. As of right now, on this Monday, given what we watched on the field and given what we heard in the locker room, it looks like a guy that has lost the team. He's lost the locker room. And the Giants take a few more of these nasty L's, you're going to start seeing some quotes coming out. Maybe it'll be anonymous. Maybe it won't. But in New York, look at the reporters yesterday. I mean, they are just foaming at the mouth. This is what they've been waiting for. But I feel bad for these guys too. I mean, they got to cover. They got to find something to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. It's all bad. So these next few days, you're going to see a lot of hot takes. I know I'm not done giving mine. You looking around the Giants social media landscape, all these content creators losing their minds. Nobody knows what to do. Right now, that's the thing, is like everything is equal. Because no matter what anybody tells you, They're full of shit. They don't know the direction of this franchise. They don't know what the next move should or is going to be. We're all just going to have to buckle up, get in this ride together, put your seatbelt on and let it go. We're going over the cliff. We're going out Thelma and Louise style together, one way or the other. So over the next month and a half of Giants football left, you're going to hear from me a lot more because at this point I can't get you hyped for anything. There's nothing that I can be, that would be one of the dumbest things ever done. Why would I make a hype video for this? But you will hear my thoughts as we navigate through these following 6 weeks. And so for the last 6 games of the season, I will say this. The whole tank thing pisses a lot of people off. I don't root for L's. I never will. I have gone on record, going to war against fans that go into a game wanting to lose. That just is not me. It's a foreign concept, and you're never going to convince me of it. Do I sit there after a loss like yesterday, after the dust has settled, and I look at the draft order, and I see that we're sitting in the 2nd spot? Do I sit there and just say, okay, yeah, because it's still kind of a win, right? But I never go into it rooting for the L. If the L comes in a situation like these final 6 weeks, so be it. But going into it, I want the fucking win. And I'd have never wanted to win more this season than I do this Thursday. Not just for the team, not just for Tommy DeVito, blah, blah, blah. If you've been following this page for a while and listening to these podcasts, you know that as it stands, every game day, I have a Dallas Cowboys flag flying out my fucking house. Why? Because I don't just say shit for clickbait. I don't just say shit for engagements to be some content creator, which everybody is now. I say shit that I mean, and I meant now 2 years ago that the Giants would beat the Cowboys. I bet Cowboy Brian, one of my best friends. And the bet was, if they don't beat us, that flag's got to fly in your house until you do. Until you do. And guess what? In 3 days, when everybody's sitting down to have a nice meal with their family, I got to go outside and put a fucking Cowboys flag on my house in a season like this. That's real fandom. That's real retardation when you just think with your fucking heart. Because the colors don't run. I legitimately bleed this blue. And so, yeah, Thursday is a big game in this house. It may fuck up the draft stock, at least for a week. But if it gets that flag down, I don't give a fuck. That's got to come down. It's depressing the whole family, and the whole neighborhood just thinks something's wrong with me. They think I'm mentally ill. Why is there a Cowboys fan all of a sudden right there? Is he going through a life change? Is he converting? What's going on over there? That flag's got to go. Don't know if Tommy DeVito's going to be the starting quarterback for it. Questionable as of today. We'll see what happens with Drew Lock. But here we are, Giants fans. We are in the middle. We're not even done yet. We're now at Thanksgiving point of the season, and we have to suck it up and go forward for the next 6 weeks together because we have no idea what's in store. I can promise you this, that these last few turns and twists and turns of the last few weeks, it ain't nothing. There's more to come. You know it and I know it. There's more to come. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me all throughout these years. If you're new, I appreciate you. I'm sorry that you've had to follow me if you're new in a time, in an era where just things are down. This is not the way that I envisioned this season. I created this entire concept to get fans excited for everything. And right now, that's, getting out there and lying. Why would I lie to people? There's nothing to be excited about. I love to see the Giants every Sunday as a glutton for punishment now. But you look at that schedule, we're not stupid. There's no wins on that schedule left. The last win on paper, likely was the Carolina game. So whatever happens now, it is what it is. But regardless of what happens Thursday, you will hear from me. We will go to this together. And you know where to find me. YouTube and Facebook, Mr. Chuck Knoxx. And of course, Twitter and Instagram at Chuck Knoxx. What it is, Giants fans, try to keep your head up. This is some really dark times for this franchise and this base. But, this is, I wouldn't want to say rock bottom, because we've hit the floor, and then another floor, and then the basement floor, and then right through the fucking Earth's core at this fucking point, okay? We're going to keep falling. I don't know how much longer, but this will turn around. We do have better days coming. The end of the Jones era was just phase one. It may take more. It may be the end of a few more eras. But that's out of our hands. And that's up to the 53 Giants and the coaching staff. If there's a pulse left on that team, you better fucking find it. You're not going anywhere this year, but if you want your job and you want something to create next year, it's got to start right now. All I know is, much like Malik Neighbors, I am fucking sick and tired of losing. 6 in a row. 6 in a row. Until then, Giants fans, you know where to find me, and I'll see you after the holidays. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family, friends, and stay safe, Giants fans. I'll be back here next week. Until then, I'm out.